Well, welcome to Bariatric Business Accelerator, the short and impactful podcast created for busy weight loss practitioners who want to systematize, simplify, and accelerate the growth of their new or existing weight loss practice. I'm your host, Carol Clark, and this is the first in a series of 3. The title is The Most Profitable Weight Loss Practices Aren't the Busiest, and Why Focus Beats Volume in 2026 and Beyond. And if you run a weight loss practice, you've probably been told at some point that the solution to growth is simple: more leads, more patients, more volume. And while that can be true, the real truth is that I see over and over again is that the most profitable weight loss practices aren't necessarily the busiest ones. In fact, many of the busiest practices, they're exhausted, they're overwhelmed, and quietly frustrated that all their effort really isn't translating into the growth or income that they may have expected. So, as we move into 2026, focus, not volume, is what actually drives sustainable success. So let me explain a little bit. And I do see this with our practice, with other practices that I consult with. But the explanation is patients today are smarter, they're more skeptical, and they're more overwhelmed than ever with the choices that they have. They are discovering GLP-1s, of course, they're exploring that, they're looking at their surgery options, they're looking at memberships, influencer advice, and of course a bunch of quick fixes that come into their feed day in and day out. So when your practice is trying to respond by seeing everyone, a few things usually happen. Your team can get stretched thin. Visits can become rushed, especially when you're really busy. The patient experience can suffer, and busy starts to feel a bit chaotic. And chaos really never scales well. If things aren't going well where you are today, if you try to scale it, it just accentuates the problem. So here's what I find the most profitable practitioners are doing differently. They're intentionally focused. They know exactly who they serve best, what problems they're solving, and how patients move through their care, not just clinically, but operationally. Let me give you a quick example. I see this all the time. So let's say you have 2 practices and they have the same number of new patients each month. Practice A, the first one, runs one-off consults, scattered follow-ups, and reactive care. Some patients disappear, others come back sporadically, revenue feels a bit unpredictable. Practice B, the other one, sees fewer total visits, but every patient enters a structured pathway. There's a clear program, they understand the patient's goals, the educational is built in, and follow-ups are intentional, and they support the patient, and it doesn't stop after the first prescription or procedure. Practice B will typically tend to be a bit calmer. They're typically more profitable, and they are far easier to run. I've been there. I've run both types, and ours I know is in that realm with Practice B, and it is much easier to run. That's the power of focus. Focused practitioners don't rely on transactions. They build sort of an ecosystem for their practice. Instead of asking how many patients can we squeeze into the schedule, they ask how do we serve the right patients better and for a longer period of time. So that's where programs can replace piecemeal visits, and it's also where memberships can replace sporadic follow-ups. And you have to be providing something of value that your patients want. When you know them really intimately, it's easy for you to create that. Your education and accountability will improve outcomes, even though we know a lot of people don't feel like they want or need that. We know they do, and if you build it in a fun way, it keeps them coming back. And yes, revenue per patient increases as a result of all of this effort. There's another benefit that we don't always talk about, and that is that when you're focused, it reduces burnout for yourself and for your team, who sometimes can't keep up with all the ideas that you have as an entrepreneur. When your team knows who they're serving, what success looks like, and how patients flow through the practice, everything feels so much lighter. They have fewer decisions to make, they have fewer fires to put out, they have better consistency for team operations as well as for patient outcomes. Clarity actually creates confidence for your team and for your patients. So, as you look ahead to 2026, I want you to ask yourself a few questions. So, ask yourself, are we just trying to get busier, or are we intentionally building a practice that works? and works for our team and works for our patients as well. If your practice feels a bit stuck, busy, but underperforming, this shift, if you think about it, it really can happen, make a huge difference. If you shift from volume to focus, that may be the single most important move you make this year. And here's the bottom line for you. The fact is that the future of profitable weight loss practices isn't about doing more. It's really about having some focus and doing the right things for the right patients in the right way. All those things play together to make everyone's life a bit saner. And when you get that right, growth becomes very sustainable, predictable, and of course, a lot more enjoyable. So, if you want help clarifying your patient journey, if you want to tighten your programs, or if you want to design a more sustainable growth strategy, that's exactly what I do with practices. And I'd love to support you. Or you can take what I've offered here today and in the rest of this series and apply it in your practice. Whatever works best for you. I just want you to have that practice that is a bit simplified and is showing profitability every single month. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and share it with a practitioner who might benefit from this podcast. So in the meantime, let's get to those same practices. Let's focus in 2026 instead of trying to do everything for everybody. Anyhow, in the meantime, take care.